Hi, I'm Jill Fraser. I've been a miniaturist for over 30 years, and I started this YouTube channel to share my work with you and to show you some of the things that I do and how I do them, and to show you how I meet some of the challenges that I find in my workshop from day to day. So I hope you enjoy this video. Hi there. I'm going to tell you today about my Devon pub. Somebody asked me about it and I thought it was a jolly good story and you need to know it. So I'll tell you it. It was when we were in Devon on a holiday. Somebody suggested we go and visit this pub. And we drove for quite a long time out in the country and through paddocks and through farmland, and there it was sitting on a ridge all on its own. And it had been largely untouched since the making of it, which would probably have been probably Middle Ages or Tudor. And I sat there in the little bar and I just looked around. I was totally gobsmacked by it. And Roger said, "You know, you've got a peculiar look on your face. What are you thinking?" And I said, "I think I'm going to have to go home and build one of these." And as I said before, he nearly choked on his drink because I was building big houses at the time and he thought I meant a large life-size pub. But I quickly reassured him that it was only 12 scale. So then that led to quite a few other things. So I'm just going to show you first a little bit of the pub in the snug with the bar in the middle, and then a little lounge for the men, and two men are playing cribbage, and one of the men's dogs is looking on. And so a little bit further on our holiday, we went to Dartmouth and I found a shop, a miniature shop. And I thought, that's too good to be true. So I went in and I bought here a few things. I bought a little jug, a little whiskey jug. The rum and gin containers at the back, which are actually adhered to the shelf, so I can't get them out, but they're ceramic. They were made locally, I think, from memory. And then I also bought the yard of ale glass that's hanging on the wall and some horse brasses. So this was the beginning of my very first miniature project. This hobby of mine started in Devon, sitting in the pub, looking around me. And upstairs I've got the proprietor's bedroom. And then there's a hallway with the pub cat having a snooze on the balustrade. And then the proprietor's mother, who stays with him sometimes, she's entertaining one of the local ladies for an afternoon tea. And so then you have to remember that this was my very first effort, and I made these people. These were my very first attempts at making people, and I made them out of Sculpey. And so I've got Arthur, he looks like an Arthur, and I've got the villager's laundress, who is a very big woman and very practical and smokes like a chimney. And again, this is the very first time I ever made people. And so we have a few other locals in there, and the local teddy boy and his girlfriend. And so they are the customers of my Devon cider pub. This little fellow here is raising funds, so he's doing an outdoor barbecue. And then there's the pub's horse, but I don't know what he's used for nowadays, but he's quite cosy in his cover. So now the story continues, because in the same holiday, we went and stayed in another village in Devon, And on our walk in the evening after dinner, we saw this shop on the corner that had dollhouses in it. And I said to Roger, "Oh, look at this. This is amazing. How coincidental is this?" I said, "Oh, but it's shut." And then a voice came from upstairs through an open window. "Oh, I can open it for you." And this lovely lady came downstairs and she opened up the shop, and I had my first experience at looking at a whole lot of miniatures en masse, and they were beautifully done. And I was just so taken aback by this. And then I found that the fellow that made them, Brian Nickolls, wrote books about them. And I looked in one of his books and there was a pub. So how about that? I was destined to become a miniaturist, really. It was all lining up in a row. So I bought the book and I came home and I started my pub, and I was working with my big tools. I had no miniature tools. It was all my big stuff. And I made the pub. Now, cut to about maybe 5 years. This is 30 odd years ago. Maybe 5 years later, we transferred back to New Zealand. And I had to put all my miniature stuff that I'd sort of gathered in my little office, which was the office I showed you the other day, which we were painting. And it was in a different location. And I had put all my miniature stuff in there and I was using it as a studio. And one day I had to shift it. I had to shift it because we're building another part on the house. So I had to take all my stuff out of the office and take it down to the garage. Now my pub, which is actually the biggest thing I'd made, was quite heavy. And I was on my own. And I had to work out how I was going to get it from the office to the garage. So I was using a wheelbarrow to wheelbarrow everything else. So I thought I'd put a plank across the wheelbarrow and I'll put the pub on it and I'll take it down to the garage, which was really good in theory, but in practice, it was a very windy day. And as I was going down the driveway, a gust of wind came and blew my pub off the wheelbarrow. And there it went, rolling down the driveway about 4 times. And I'm just horrified, absolutely horrified. I run after it, I pick it up. The doors were damaged, so this is why it doesn't have a front on it, because the front got irreparably damaged. It had 2 fronts and a little porch. And I never got round to fixing it. But fortunately, I'd emptied it before I'd put it on the wheelbarrow, so I never lost any of my stuff in it. So that poor old pub had a bit of a checkered career. Now, I'll just show you Brian's book, which had the pub. So that's what the front of the pub looked like before it got lost in the wind. And I pretty much followed his plan right through, because I was a newbie at it. This book was an amazing book. I can't tell you how amazing those books are. Anyway, the corollary of this story is that quite a few years later, after that, we relocated to New Zealand and I was ill. I'd had a stroke and my niece dropped off a dollhouse that she'd been halfway through and said it would be a good thing to do. And she brought a book along with her. And lo and behold, it was another Brian Nickolls book. And this was my Georgian house. So I'm just about to show you now, to finish this rather lengthy story, my Georgian house. And I have to say, a big thanks to Brian Nickolls for helping me through what was pretty much a very tough time. And I don't think I could have done it without his lovely books. So just to complete the story, I'll show you the book Brian Nickolls wrote that my niece had found all on her own. And this was the dollhouse she dropped off, which looks a little bit different from the one behind me because I actually put an extra floor on this. I didn't think it was big enough. And I gave myself a whole lot of structural problems doing that, but never mind. And so I'll tell you about the house in detail some other time, but that is the end story of the pub. So I hope you enjoyed that. So before I go, just a gentle reminder to join my channel membership, because this will give you free digital issues of my magazine, all the back issues, and it will also give you early release of the videos and any other downloads that I do exclusively for my members.